The US government is using hunger as a weapon, starving millions of civilians. The Donald Trump administration has imposed a medieval-style siege against the tiny island nation of Cuba, and even the Wall Street Journal, which is very anti-Cuba, acknowledged that life in Cuba is grinding to a halt under this extreme oil blockade that the US has imposed. Now, the blockade against Cuba is not new. This goes back more than 60 years. But Trump has taken it to a whole new level and prevented Cuba from getting access to any oil to try to collapse the economy. This means that Cuba has been forced to shut down schools and government offices and public transportation, and international flights have been canceled. And Western media outlets are asking, how long before Cuba collapses? This is the goal of the US government. It is medieval-style siege warfare to collapse the entire country. And when I say the US government is using hunger as a weapon, I'm not in any way exaggerating. This was openly admitted by a US Congress member, Representative Maria Elvira Salazar from Miami, Florida. She is a far-right Republican and a close ally of Donald Trump. And on Twitter, Salazar has been openly calling to starve women and children in Cuba. Again, I'm not in any way exaggerating. This is one of her tweets, translated from Spanish. She only posted it in Spanish, but she said, the US must deny oxygen to Cuba, to deny every dollar, every trip, to stop everything. No more tourism, no more remittances. And then she added, quote, it's devastating to think about a mother's hunger, about a child who needs immediate help, end quote. She is admitting, without hiding it at all, that the goal of the US empire is literally to starve women and children to bring about total collapse of Cuba's economy and society in order to overthrow Cuba's revolutionary government. It's not just the government that is suffering from this criminal blockade that the US has imposed on Cuba. There are 11 million Cubans in the country, and they're all suffering. This is extreme collective punishment. The peace activist and journalist Medea Benjamin has been in Cuba and writing about her experience. She's been interviewing people in Cuba. She interviewed a mother who's a hairdresser in Cuba's city of Holguin, who said the following through tears, quote, you can't imagine how it touches every part of our lives. It's a vicious, all-encompassing spiral downward. With no gasoline, buses don't run so we can't get to work. We have electricity only 3 to 6 hours a day. There's no gas for cooking, so we're burning wood and charcoal in our apartments. It's like going back 100 years. The blockade is suffocating us, especially single mothers, and no one is stopping these demons, Trump and Marco Rubio, end quote. That is a Cuban mother crying about the horrible crime against humanity that the US empire is carrying out. The US is the most powerful country on earth, and it is doing everything it can to try to crush a small island nation of 11 million people, to send the lives of the people of Cuba back 100 years, to starve them, to try to destroy their country. This is absolutely barbaric and monstrous. And US government officials are gloating about the fact that they are terrorizing the people of Cuba, especially these far-right Congress members from Miami, Florida, who are Trump allies, like Maria Elvira Salazar. They're openly saying, do not travel to Cuba. They want to crush the country. They're boasting that there is no electricity, no food, no medicine, only blackouts and hunger. Not mentioning that that's the intentional goal. They're intentionally causing blackouts and shortages and hunger. And they claim that the regime is in its final hours. They're literally starving as many people as possible to try to overthrow the government. Here I'm looking at a tweet from a Cuban journalist who lives inside Cuba, and he's been talking about how the US blockade has totally paralyzed the education system. He noted that ever since the revolution in 1959, education has been public, free, and universal up to and including the university level. But now Trump's total blockade has paralyzed universities. Literally, the U.S. is taking away the right to study from children and young people in Cuba, directly harming the people. And this is deeply ironic because the U.S. constantly claims to be the richest country on earth, and yet universities are not free in the U.S. They're insanely expensive. There are young people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and then go into debt for decades to try to get education in the U.S. So now that the U.S. doesn't provide higher education for free to its people, it's also denying education to the people of Cuba. And it goes without saying that this U.S. blockade of Cuba is obviously completely illegal according to international law. And United Nations human rights experts have publicly condemned this outrageous medieval siege. UN human rights experts emphasized that the U.S. fuel blockade on Cuba is, quote, a serious violation of international law, end quote. And Trump's defenders have been saying, fine, if Cuba can't trade with the U.S., why don't they trade with other countries? Well, because the U.S. government, Trump himself, is openly threatening to impose tariffs and sanctions on other countries and foreign companies that sell oil to Cuba. This is not just about Cuba. The U.S. is threatening all countries and all foreign companies on earth to try to prevent everyone from doing business with Cuba and selling Cuba oil to starve the entire country. And these UN human rights experts emphasized that, quote, there is no right under international law to impose economic penalties on third states for engaging in lawful trade with another sovereign country, end quote. The U.S., again, is a total rogue state, blatantly spitting in the face of international law, clearly violating the sacred principles of sovereign equality, non-intervention, and self-determination, which are very clearly written in the UN Charter. These UN human rights experts warned that the illegal U.S. blockade of Cuba to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow of government, end quote. That has been the explicitly stated policy of the U.S. empire for more than 60 years. And this is exactly what the Trump administration is doing today. Of course, this is not a new policy, but the Trump administration has taken it to a whole new level, imposing a fuel blockade of Cuba to try to crush the entire country and starve 11 million people. In fact, corporate media outlets in the U.S. that are owned by billionaire oligarchs, like the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, one of the richest billionaire oligarchs on earth, the founder of Amazon, they are openly boasting that, quote, Cuba is collapsing. That's an opportunity for Trump, end quote. They are proud of the fact that they are barbaric medieval savages who are starving 11 million people to try to overthrow their government. The U.S. government wants the Cuban people to suffer. That is literally the goal. They're not hiding it in any way. The U.S. State Department posted on its official Facebook profile a video of Secretary of State Marco Rubio being asked in Congress about regime change, and he said, we would love to see regime change in Cuba. They are proud of it.
Will you make a public commitment today to rule out U.S. regime change in Cuba?
Regime change?
Yes.
Oh, no, I think we would love to see the regime there change. We would like to, that doesn't mean that we're going to make a change, but we would love to see a change. There's no doubt about the fact that it would be of great benefit to the United States.
Now, Marco Rubio is extremely influential in the current U.S. regime. He's the second most powerful official after Donald Trump. He's much more powerful than Vice President J.D. Vance, because Rubio is not only the Secretary of State, the head of U.S. foreign policy, he's simultaneously acting as the U.S. National Security Advisor, that is the head of the National Security Council. Rubio is only the second person in U.S. history to simultaneously hold both positions after the notorious war criminal Henry Kissinger, who fulfilled both positions under Richard Nixon. But it's not just that. Marco Rubio is also the acting chief of USAID, the so-called U.S. Agency for International Development. So Rubio has been given extreme power to oversee U.S. foreign policy. And Rubio is a lifelong extreme neoconservative war hawk who has obediently supported every single U.S. war of aggression, and he is especially obsessed with overthrowing the revolutionary Cuban government. This is a lifelong personal obsession for him. He is the children of wealthy right-wing Cuban immigrants who voluntarily moved to Florida, although he has lied about it. Earlier in his career, he claimed for a long time that his parents were supposed refugees of communism who supposedly fled Fidel Castro, which was a total lie. His parents were very wealthy and they voluntarily moved to Florida before the victory of the Cuban Revolution in 1959. And the community that Rubio is from in Miami, Florida, is the heart of the far-right, corrupt Cuban oligarchs, the elites, some of whom were slave owners and big landlords, and they worked with the mafia, and they moved to Miami, Florida, and previously they worked closely with the corrupt right-wing dictator of Cuba, Fulgencio Batista, who was a U.S. puppet who ruled Cuba with an iron fist, with a brutal dictatorship, and he had a very close relationship with the mafia. And Rubio is linked to some of these crime networks in Miami, Florida. By the way, Rubio lived with his brother-in-law, who was a prolific cocaine trafficker, a drug lord, who was imprisoned for trafficking drugs. And then after Rubio's drug trafficking brother-in-law was released from prison, Rubio used his political position to lobby for his brother-in-law to get a real estate license, which is very difficult for convicted felons and narco traffickers. And this earned Marco Rubio the nickname Narco Rubio. And Rubio has also earned that nickname because he's very close to corrupt right-wing drug trafficking politicians across Latin America, including, for instance, Rubio is a close ally of Álvaro Uribe, the corrupt former president of Colombia, and U.S. intelligence agencies have admitted that Uribe is one of the worst Colombian drug traffickers in modern history, who worked very closely with the Medellin cartel and Pablo Escobar.
Rubio knew people who sold drugs, right? And still to this day he knows, right? So they went out to Venezuela to get the Venezuelan president, and the people down there who was guarding the Venezuelan president, Maduro, they turned on him. That's what happened. And before America went down there and got Maduro, now this me talking to the Northern Kingdom. Okay, the Northern Kingdom told me, you got the Northern Kingdom, Judah Benjamin Levi. You got the Southern Kingdom, Judah Benjamin Levi, and you got the Northern Kingdom, Ephraim, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Manasseh, Gad, North American Indians, Issachar Mexican, the Seminole Indians, Reuben, so on and so forth. But talking to the Northern Kingdom, they said down there in Venezuela, they have a big baseball tournament, and it's major, right? And it's major down there. And before America got Maduro, the Venezuelan president, they had canceled that baseball tournament, which is major down there, weeks prior before America came down there. So they knew that America was going to strike. They knew that America was going to get Maduro weeks before they got him. So they, you had guys just cut out. But the reason why, hey, what's up, my man? Hey, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because Marco Rubio, when he got into Trump cabinet, Marco Rubio was set up to go after the Northern Kingdom, man. And I said that soon as Donald Trump put Marco Rubio into his cabinet, he was set up to go after the Northern Kingdom. That's what he was going to do. And Marco Rubio is supposed to be a Cuban, right? Which is Manasseh. And right now, when they got Maduro, they start besieging. They start being a pirate, right? They start being a pirate and taking oil tankers that was destined for Cuba. So Marco Rubio them, right? And it's going back before Marco Rubio was even in Donald Trump's cabinet. They always wanted to overthrow and get control of Cuba. They always wanted to overthrow and get control of Cuba. But the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because our people was always under attack by these other nations. And still to this day, and you always had sellouts, right? You always had sellouts amongst our people that have been joined to these heathens and helping these heathens overthrow it. Always, you always had it throughout history, right? It always happened, right? You always had men, you know, or women amongst the children of Israel always join with these other nations to overthrow us as a people, man. Always. So right now, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio them, Marco Rubio is a Cuban, like I said, when you look at his history, his father was, and what they're doing right now is squeezing Cuba. They squeezing Cuba right now. Okay, and America trade with Cuba concerning food and stuff. So they got a blockade concerning oil, which they used to get from Venezuela, and it's causing problems in Cuba and Manasseh, which is all the children of Israel, one of the 12 tribes. Okay, is catching hell over there. And Cuba by the hands of the so-called white man. You see? And you got our own people helping this devil. Okay? So what I want to do is read, let's jump, see what I can get out of this. Let's go to Micah. And what they want to do is take over Cuba, and they want regime change, right? And put like a Walmart over there, a Tesla company over there, a what else? Gucci over there. So that's what they want to do. They want to put companies and corporations over there, right? And make money off of the Northern Kingdom, Cuba, which is Manasseh, and keep them oppressed, man. And get rich off of them, man. That's what they want to do, man. See? And that's their agenda. And chip Manasseh over there, which is a Cuban. Right? That's what they want to do. So what I want to do is go to Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their bed. And when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So the top elites are these Edomites, right? At night, when they laying down, they plan to oppress and defraud and take what belongs to the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, because they got the power to do it. And that's what they want to do with Cuba. They want to take what they got over there and oppress them and get economically rich off their suffering. You see, that's what they want to do. And that's how Esau moved as a nation of people when it comes to the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Oppress them economically so they can get rich. Okay? This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe unto them, meaning destruction, that devise iniquity and work evil upon their bed. And when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they got the influence, okay? Because they got the money and the military might, right? Verse 2, and they cover fields and take them by violence. And that's the way America wants, and that's the way America and these Edomites move, okay? They come with violence to take what belongs to you, right? That's what they do, so they can be economically rich. And houses, and take them away, so they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his own heritage. And they know, right? The top elite know that Cuba, right? Them people, them indigenous people over there in Cuba are of the 12 tribes of Israel. They know they Manasseh, but they don't care, okay? That's the hatred that these Edomites, these top elite Edomites got for the children of Israel. And first and foremost, that's the hatred that they got against the Heavenly Father and His Son and the children of Israel, man. And they use our own people against us, amongst us, and throw our own people scraps from how they oppress us and get economically rich, and our people be with it, man. That's why this place gotta go. Okay? So I start from the top and read that again. This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their bed. And when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Verse 2. And they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, so they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his own heritage, man. And that's the way these devils move. And doing a person like that to get economically rich, defrauding a person to get economically rich, bringing violence to a nation of people to get economically rich. When it comes to the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, you're going to get destroyed behind that. You Edomite, right? So, this is, let's jump to Isaiah. Let's jump to Isaiah, the 5th chapter, right? See if we can get out of this. Isaiah, the 5th chapter, verse 8. It says, woe unto them that join house to house. Yeah. When you build Walmart over there, when you build Gucci over there, you will establish yourself over there and take land that belongs to the children of Israel and build your company on that land and remove the population, and some of them people will end up homeless. You see? Some of the children of Israel will end up homeless because these elites that's doing that is doing it for economic gain, and they don't care about the well-being of the children of Israel when they start building them on their land. They don't care, okay? Because it's about economic gain and the fraud, okay? And robbery, that's what it's about. It says, this Isaiah chapter 5, verse 8, woe unto them that join house to house, and lay field to field, till there be no place. Yeah, they'll move people from their land, tear their house down, move people from their land, and the people will end up homeless and don't have no land and be displaced from their original spots because you're building for economic gain and oppressing the people, right? Meaning the children of Israel. Be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. Yeah, have no place to lay their head and don't have no land because you done destroyed their house and took over their land. So some of them will be homeless because you're trying to get ahead concerning economic gain and oppressing the people. That's how you Edomite are governing yourself, by stepping on the children of Israel to be economically powerful, okay? To be wealthy. And the Heavenly Father, His Son said, woe unto you, destruction, okay? So